this question comes up. When do I need a proposal? Do I really need it? And the answer is a definite maybe. A proposal is not meant to sell for you. It's meant to reflect the sales conversation you've had. So if there are things in regards, and this is going to sound kind of harsh, and I don't mean it to be, but if we're kind of hiding behind our proposal, hoping for it to do the work, that's not what we want it to do. People, when they say, that sounds good, send me a proposal, that's sometimes their nice way of saying, no, thank you. That equals less proposals, but more sales.
Just don't send a proposal.
No.
Just move forward and either have those conversations to figure out if the customer's ready to go and needs a proposal, or just send them the invoice. Just make the sale. Just do it. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Sippin Matcha and helping you make more sales when and about the time that it takes you to enjoy your matcha break or coffee break. We give you some great sales advice from our resident sales trainer and sales coach, Brooke Greening, who's coming in now with some breaking matcha news as she sips her matcha.
Yes. So we have just had a 7 Brew drive-through, very catchy marketing, come just about 10 minutes from our house. And so they are very, very gracious in their whole launching process. And so they offer whole days of free drinks and then certain times throughout the day of free drinks. And so even though Scott is not super thrilled, we get to sit in line for 45 minutes with our whole family and start enjoying all of these different drinks coming from 7 Brew.
I was going to say, 10 minutes or an hour and 5 minutes, depending on if you're counting to the line or through the line.
Yes.
And so we're happy for them, and they've obviously got a system that knows how to draw a crowd. Mm-hmm. So they do a good job with that. Our daughter is hoping, and 7 Brew will just throw this out there, that maybe they'll sponsor this podcast. So I know you like
they have matcha lattes.
Yes.
And they have a Cloud 9 matcha latte, which is amazing. And so now I'm asking you to help create that drink at home because it has a little lavender, a little vanilla, and some cinnamon.
There we go.
Delicious.
So we've been talking in the last few episodes about proposals, and we're going to continue that conversation today. So we've talked about things like why our proposals aren't working, why we keep getting ghosted when we send proposals. And today we're asking the question, do I really need a proposal? So maybe we should have led with this one. Maybe this should have been the first question, but we're coming around to it. And what do you say, Brooke?
So this question comes from me because this is a question we meet on a regular basis when I'm working with clients. So as we are working through their whole sales process and we find that there's these bottlenecks and things stop, and sometimes we find things can actually be detrimental to their sales process. This question comes up. When do I need a proposal? Do I really need it? And the answer is a definite maybe.
Way to take a position. No, but that's the answer. Definitely maybe, because there's times when you should do it, and there's times when you shouldn't do it. So what are some of those times when you should send a proposal?
Yeah. So the most obvious one is when customers require it. So when you're talking to other businesses or non-for-profits and they require it, they have to show it to other business leaders. They require it because perhaps it's just their process that they have to get 3 different proposals. That's when you need to be able to send one. Also, when there's a request for proposal, obviously, that is what you do. We do not need to be a jerk in this process, but if they're absolutely requiring it and they can't change that process, it's not the time for us to be dun, 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 I'm going to do something different. No, that's not.
Yeah, I was going to say, I do strategic planning work, and so often maybe interacting with organizations, and that request for proposal thing is a real thing. And
100%.
We do try to contact whoever the leader is. Mm-hmm. We do try to email and find some inside information, and we've done that. But ultimately, they're not changing their process, and I have to send a proposal.
Yes. And you do not want to make them look bad. If they're excited and they want to be able to work with you, but there are other people that are going to be a part of this decision and they need to be able to share that. If they're not willing to be able to meet on a separate meeting or together or whatever the case is, that's when that comes into play. So we're going to talk in a minute of when not to do it, because there are things I think sometimes we make excuses that we need to send a proposal when we don't. But the bottom line is, if they're requiring it, then that's what we need to do. We are going into their world. We do not demand that they bend to ours. That's being a jerk.
Yep. And then we also, like, there are times, and this isn't meant to be an exhaustive list of when you're supposed to send the proposal or not, but there are times when maybe you're discussing multiple options. And so sending a proposal helps clarify that. I would guess you might recommend, like, hey, this is the one that seems the best fit, or like sort of good, better, best it. But that would be another opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are good times. So I'm not saying never send a proposal, but I'm saying those are the times we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we need to do that. But I would argue there are a lot of times we don't have to.
Yeah, so definitely maybe, which means there are times, and you just said it, there's times when we don't need to send a proposal. So talk to us about that.
So the next thing is, if there's not a clear next step, that's not the time to start sending a proposal. A proposal is not meant to sell for you. It's meant to reflect the sales conversation you've had. So if there are things in regards, and this is going to sound kind of harsh, and I don't mean it to be, but if we're kind of hiding behind our proposal, hoping for it to do the work, that's not what we want it to do. If we're kind of hoping that it's going to introduce the pricing so we don't have to, that's not when we want to be sending a proposal. It just needs to reflect what we've talked about before. So if there's not a clear direction in what's happening next, proposals are not it. A lot of times that happens. That happens in the sales conversation where they're like, well, that sounds really good. Send me a proposal. Here's a little bit of a secret. People, when they say, that sounds good, send me a proposal, that's sometimes their nice way of saying, no, thank you. They're not going to say no. They're just going to have you send the proposal. And then if you don't there's nothing for a follow-up, then they're just going to let it go. A lot of times people will say, send me a proposal, because they really don't want to say no, and they don't want to get into a conversation of saying no. So it's easier to say that. So if you are unclear, and you're like, well, I'll just send you a proposal because you're trying to buy time, trying to figure out what that cost is going to look like, trying to have it sell for you. Those are times, don't do that.
Yeah, and I know I don't do this anymore because I've interacted with you and we have our own business and I've been on the other side of it. But I've been that person where, they're like, hey, can I send you a proposal? I'm like, sure. But I know in the back of my head, okay, I'll hold on to this and maybe something would change and I, can pull this out. But I'm not planning to do that. And so now, just because I've been on the other side of it, I just say, hey, if you want to do that, that's fine. I don't think we're going with you and that. And so I want to be respectful of your time. And so I know that you've interacted with people that they get excited because, they said, send me a proposal. And then you've helped them realize
that's not necessarily a buying signal. It can be. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying if someone says send me a proposal, that always means no. But more often than not, if it doesn't seem like things are moving forward, we haven't even talked about what's going on in the price or the investment or anything like that. And they're like, okay, just send me a proposal. That is not a clear buying signal. That's not them saying, I want to do this. Yeah,
so you kind of wove in a few things real quick. Let's circle back and touch on a couple of them. You said something about next steps. And so don't send, there's a connection between proposals and next steps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is what I say all the time, 100% of the time. We never just send the proposal out. That we just did an episode on ghosting. And so that's one of the biggest reasons why that happens. If we just send it and there's no direct date and time in regards to reviewing it with them. So that's the very first piece. Just make sure, if you are sending it, that there's a date and time in regards to when you're going to be reviewing it. That equals less proposals, but more sales. And it helps everybody realizing, okay, this is a good thing to do, or this isn't something that we want to do. And then the other thing I want to encourage is proposals can actually slow your process down. So if you are talking to the decision maker and they're able to say yes, we don't have to send a proposal. We can start moving the sale forward right then and there. Meaning, okay, we'll send the contract. It can be detailed, all of those things. I'm never saying We don't want things that protect us in regards to what we're going to be doing and provides them the protection that they're not, getting ripped off and they don't get what they were thinking they were going to buy. I'm never saying that we don't do that. I'm just saying the proposal itself can start to slow that down. So if they're the decision maker and they want to move forward, saying I'm going to send you a proposal actually slows it down, and it can be a detriment to your sales. Instead of saying, okay, great, this is what we can do. I'm going to be sending you the invoice and we can get the contract going and then you can move forward. And that was what I did with one of our team that we were working with just a few weeks ago. We looked at it and I said, do you have to have a proposal to make this work? Do you have to have a proposal in your process in order for them to buy this one project from you? And she was like, no, I don't think we do. I'm like, then that's why it's slowing down. If people can make the decision and they're the ones that are able to do it, let them buy. Make it easy for this process to go forward.
Yeah, we want to remove as much friction as possible from the sales process. And so sometimes we do that, like through invoices. I think a good example of that, just today, I got an email. I think it came in yesterday, but I was getting to it today. So I had talked to a friend of mine who I knew from college, a contact, and he runs a local SEO company now that helps businesses on Google and that. We'll put his link in the comments. Shout out to Buddy Rathmel, and I forget the name of his company right now. But anyway, he does a great job. But he sent me a service agreement. And so instead of a proposal and all that, he just said,
yes,
and the pricing's good for X number of days. And if we want to move forward, we're ready to move forward. And all I have to do is sign the line.
Yeah. And that goes back into our sales conversations, that we don't just do that and people are surprised by it because that will completely turn them off. But you've had that conversation previously. So in our sales conversation, instead of saying, I'm going to send you a proposal, we're asking them, what questions or concerns do you have before we move forward? And if we're ready to move forward, we can do that today. If they can buy today, then that's what we want to be able to do. It helps them and it helps us. And so many times we literally use the proposal to either buy us more time, help us to introduce the investment of it. And that's not what you want to do. That's when it starts to slow things down. So if they can buy today, if they are the decision maker and they can make that decision, let them do it. And it doesn't have to be a small piece. We've had big contracts come together because we had the conversations we needed to in our sales conversations so that there weren't all of these fuzzy pieces and we were able to move forward. We still had a contract. We still had all of those things, but we didn't have to have the proposal in it. Yeah.
So bottom line, you're not saying never send a proposal, but you are saying when the customer's process requires it, when the factors make the best fit. But if people are ready to buy, or you're just sending a proposal because I'll be harsher than you would ever be, but because you're scared to talk about price, or because you want to back into it, you're scared to ask for that next step. Those, just don't send a proposal.
No,
just move forward and either have those conversations to figure out if the customer's ready to go and needs a proposal, or just send them the invoice. Just make the sale. Just do it.
Right. And in regards to, again, we're not saying just send the invoice and they're surprised with it. These are things that you're already discussing and confirming, that's the word I'm looking for, in the sales conversation. And so no one is getting surprised with what's going on, but you've had the conversation. You want to be able to move forward. Okay, so let's do that. Maybe that's on conversation 1. Maybe that's on conversation 2. It just depends on what you're talking about, what you're looking to be able to help them with. But you don't have to send a proposal every single time. And if you're the one leading the sales conversation, that's when you help them to understand that. They don't have any idea what your process looks like. They just assume there's a proposal involved.
Yeah. Great. Well, I think the line at 7 Brew is back. We need to plan.
It's getting there. 12 to 1.
That's right. We could go get a free drink. But great. Thank you. This is helpful. I know we've got one more episode on proposals, so be on the lookout for that. That's coming. You can get all the links in the show notes for the previous episodes. And we hope that this helps you make more sales and value your customers. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.